It was the Super Fuzz Big Super Blood Wolf Moon something. Anyway, I wish I had a longer zoom lens. This past weekend, I went to Dallas to take photographs of musician Joan Avent. With my friend Danny assisting, we mostly photographed in this really great park and also at her neighbor's very neat house. Joan and I actually went to high school together. She graduated the year after I did, and I graduated with her older brother. My mom even had class with their mom, so that's pretty cool. And she's putting out an album soon called Drown Ophelia. And she has artwork for the album, but she needed promotional photographs. And unfortunately, again, as with the nature of doing portraits for musicians and for publication and stuff, you can't really show the stuff too early, but I will talk about what we did. So we were going for kind of a romantic, Victorian, possibly pre-Raphaelite vibe, which is, as you might know, right up my alley. And we shot along this cool creek running through this park. I also had this kind of cool Gothic looking bridge, I guess, among other bridges. And the sun was coming in behind. It was pretty much overcast until the very end. It got a little sunny after we had wrapped, but especially beneath the trees and in the shade and stuff like that. This was a very grayish day, which I think is my favorite combination with strobe. And I had my battery-powered Flashpoint Explorer 600 Pro with me. I like its sync abilities to combat the changing sun that would poke out from behind the clouds now and then. As I often do, had the sun on her back, which I thought provided a nice backlight and gave me a nice range of tones and lighting to work with to tone these photographs how I want to. They won't necessarily have to look exactly like I shot them. Her husband was helping us along the way, either with props or finding locations. He helped find this particularly very nice spot and also helped us navigate Dallas because I have no sense of direction. From there, we went to her neighbor's house, which was a little chaotic as her neighbor is working on moving out. But we made use of this nice little living room area and this neat couch, and it was basically set up like a really nice, it was basically a really nice set for us. And I tried putting my LED continuous light through the window for a few, and I had some on-set assistance from little furry friends. And I had an orange gel on the light for a little while, trying to get a little sunset and a little warm and cool action. And I got a few things, and you know, maybe I got something I like, but we'll see. I haven't finished editing these at all. I eventually moved the light indoors to try to just bounce it off the ceiling, and actually got a few things I like in there that I thought turned out pretty well. Anyway, I will definitely share these as soon as they come out, and hopefully you'll see some of the process here and just see a little behind the scenes of what goes on when you're shooting photos in kind of a no budget kind of guerrilla type shooting. Like I said, we had a great time. Check out Joan's music on Bandcamp. There is a link in the description. It's well worth it, and the album Drown Ophelia comes out soon. And on a different note, please consider supporting me on Patreon and also clicking subscribe. And please like the video and feel free to comment. But Rachel, one of my patrons, had asked if I had any photographers to suggest to her, and if I could maybe give her some direction about some fine art photographers she could look into, because she just really didn't know where to start. So the one she told me that she knew about was Francesca Woodman, and it gave me a good starting point, which is what I'm showing you here, which is I just went to Amazon and clicked on, or did a search for Francesca Woodman, And you see at the bottom of the pages, it has, customers also bought this. You'll see like Sally Mann and William Eggleston and Robert Frank, some compilation books, one by Joel Meyerowitz. And I'm doing this double time, but feel free to pause and look at all these names. Honestly, most of these names are amazing. So I also knew that I thought that Francesca's work strongly resembled Dwayne Michaels. So once again, look at Dwayne Michaels. And you might notice some of these books are kind of expensive. So what you can do is if you keep looking, you can see the used book prices on these older books, like the ABC Dwayne book. You can get for like $3. And just a wild card for her kind of Rachel's kind of photojournalistic shooting, I thought Glennie Friedman would be a good person for her to check out. And he was the guy who documented like all the hardcore and rap, the beginning of these hardcore and rap and skate scenes. And he's famous for it, like Beastie Boys, Run DMC, all kinds of skaters. And you'll look on there, you see Stephen Shore, William Eggleston again. And you'll also see a great open road essay book by David Campany, who's another great name to look out for, also a good photographer. And this leads to Joel Meyerowitz, whose Cape Light can be found for cheap on the used market. In his Aftermath book, he was the photographer who was allowed on Ground Zero after 9/11, and it's just a stunning large format book. Richard Avedon's another classic photographer to check out, and that leads you to like Annie Leibovitz, who most people know, but it can still lead you to a lot of people. And let's see, Gregory Crutzen is another popular name, but also leads to a lot of really good stuff. Once again, back to Todd Hido. Stephen Shore is an influence on Crutzen. But let's say you want to, not do Amazon. And this is Google, and if you type in Gregory Crutzen, you see it says people also search for Cindy Sherman, Thomas Ruff, and Alex Soth, and Edward Hopper, and Stephen Shore, and Dorothea Lane. Gregory Crutzen, you can see his photos, although you should not look at Gregory Crutzen's photos only on Google Images. Jeff Wall is another example of this, an amazing large format photographer with these meticulous works that you see the size of a postage stamp. This is how big they actually are. If you look at this display of his works in person, these are giant light boxes that I've never even seen one in person. But you get the idea that what you see on a computer screen is a picture of a picture and not always the real thing. But in the interest of, cramming photographers in here, if you look up Francesca Woodman, you also find her mother, Betty Woodman, who's a ceramics artist. And let's say you want to look for Imogen Cunningham, Sophie Galley, William Eggleston again, the Martin Parr, Mary Ellen Marc. Mary Ellen Marc's a really great one, by the way. Just there you go. You want a bunch of names to look up? Look up Guy Bourdin and Robert Frank, mentioned again. So there's your quick primer on cramming in a bunch of photographers you should check out. And this wasn't necessarily a deep dive, but you shouldn't necessarily start on a deep dive. You gotta get your head wrapped around what's out there in more detail. But I really just wanted to toss that out there and give you just a supercharging of photography names, and hopefully that's useful. If you have any suggestions or tips on finding new works and new photographers, please feel free to share it, and we'll see what we can come up with. Anyway, once again, if you would please subscribe to my channel and like this video and turn on notifications, etc., I would super appreciate it. Also, still have my Patreon if you would like to contribute to that. And I will see you next week. Thank you.